Hi guys, I did my presentation on, or I guess the problem I identified was low income effects on child abuse, and my name is Laura Schneider. So let's get started. So first off, the problem I identified was that there's usually a direct impact of low income on families who experience child abuse and neglect. And so, according to research, there was a stress score in one of the studies I found, and it said that 20% of families were found to be at risk for neglect, and 30% of low income families at an abuse or a risk for abuse. And these children who are found with these risks were more likely to be from families that were experiencing housing instability or low income. And so, just more facts about this problem is that there are direct and indirect associations between housing insecurity and problematic parenting behaviors that could potentially lead to neglect or abuse. And those who are living in housing insecurity also have an increased risk of food insecurity and lack of appropriate medical care, which would lead into the neglect category. And so this has become such an issue, and this has been brought to light that more and more child welfare agencies, nonprofits, government agencies are all working to collaborate to fix these problems for our families. And so another one is that maternal stress specifically, and later on I get into this more, but the stress that mothers receive from having housing insecurity, poverty, is indirectly associated with neglect and abuse in their children. And 1 in 11 families in the United States are experiencing housing instability, and there is a direct association between that and child neglect. And so a little bit more about the problem. Parents who are low income are more likely to behave irrationally, unsupportive, and abruptly towards their children, which would in turn lead to more abuse and bad treatment of them. And it's determined that when families feel like they are out of resources, they lack resources, they don't have any social supports available to them, low income is a real issue for them in their lives, more than just a stressor. And so some reasonings behind this problem is that neglect is a direct response to stress, and poverty is an all-pervasive stress, according to our textbook. And it's also true, not all families living in poverty are neglectful. You can be living in poverty and treat your children correctly and care for them, give them everything they need. But this is just one possible problem. It's not the only cause of abuse or neglect, but it is a big one. Low socioeconomic status in families has been identified as a major cause of child neglect. And so now that we know the problem, we can begin to identify solutions. Stress caused from low income, along with housing instability, it's all positively correlated with child abuse and neglect, but there are other variables. And so a likely cause of maltreatment, along with previous research, is that low income is an effect of maltreatment, or as a cause of maltreatment. And so we'll go ahead and move on to solutions for the problem. I think one possible solution from my research and for prevention of child abuse and neglect comes through promoting healthy motherhood through intervention methods, one of those being father involvement. Financial resources, of course, and anti-poverty methods, helping them to relieve their stress that comes from being impoverished, having housing instability. And again, like I mentioned earlier, motherhood is the main factor to be looking at in this problem, and father involvement helps motherhood. And so a father's parenting has indirect effects on behavior problems and cognitive development of their children. And so that could be a solution, is better father parenting. The effects of the mother's education, income, economy, and parenting affects the child outcomes far more than the father's does. And so throughout this, we're going to see a theme of mother involvement being more important, because father's involvement directly impacts the mother, which then directly impacts the children. And so the mother is really the thing to be looking at here, because in our next point, when the mother experiences economic hardships, this can cause depressive symptoms in hers. It can put stress on the co-parenting relationship, and that will lead to negative outcomes in their child's development, the child's behavior, and the mother's interactions with her kids. And so the mother-father relationship is very important. The father's parenting will impact how the mother parents. And so both parenting, if there is a problem in their relationship, will negatively impact the child's behavior, and their behavior towards their child as well. And so, like I said before, these are my resources, and possible solutions would be really supporting those parents, the father supporting the mother, and then the mother being able to support her children well, and again, giving the parents the resources they need, the solutions they need, to get out of these low income situations, these poverty situations, give them supports to deal with them, even if they are living in poverty, them feeling empowered enough to be able to parent well, having the knowledge they need to thrive despite their situations. So, thank you for listening.